Revitalization Trust meeting. Today is July 8th, 2025. It is now 6:13 p.m.
Roll call. Chair Leslie England Dorlands.
Present.
Vice Chair Ashley Toussaint, absent. Secretary Lisa Zapata. Here. Robert Holland. Rudy May, absent. We have quorum to proceed.
Any person who acts as a lobbyist pursuant to City of Miami Ordinance Number 11469, codified in Chapter 2, Article 6 of the City Code, must register with the City Clerk prior to engaging in lobbying activities before City staff, boards, committees, and the City Commission. A copy of said ordinance is available in the office of the City Clerk, City Hall. The material for each item on the agenda is available online on the City's website. Any person may be heard by the board through the chair for not more than 2 minutes on any proposition before the board unless modified by the chair. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the board takes action on such proposition. The chair will advise the public when the public may have the opportunity to address the board during the public comment period or at any other designated time.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up to public comments. Okay. I don't see any public comments, so we'll move it along for any I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Good evening, good evening. City police officers, community leaders, and staff and board members. I just wanted to just highlight my alma mater, Edison. We're an A school, 2 years in a row, by the way. Yeah, Edison, not Northwestern, not North Miami, not nowhere, just Edison. Just let y'all know we A school for 2 years in a row, even though we deal with a lot of issues in the community, you know, the language barrier, but we're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and move it to announcements. Announcements, okay. We have presentations. Are we ready for the check presentation?
Yes, I see that we have one small business, B&T Tires, Bernard.
Okay. Right.
Tom's trying to find it.
So now we have a presentation by the City of Miami Police Department.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Officer Jean and Officer Guillaume and Officer Harris. We work in the Little Haiti area. So I'll be presenting the first two quarters in Little Haiti. So far, everything's fine. Everything's going down. Year to date, this year, 2025, firearm offenses went down 49%. Burglaries, on Sector 5 only, we have a slight increase, but we already taking action. For the past 6 months, we have, a couple of them. But I have to let you know that some burglaries, it's like the subject didn't enter the interior of the property. Basically, they are stealing packages on the patio since the property's fenced. Right now, that's considered burglaries. But for the past month or two, we already identified 5, and we already make 5 arrests. And we're pretty sure we continue to monitor the area to make sure that the burglaries is going down like everything else. As far as burglary inside those stores, went down about 48%. So overall, we're doing pretty good.
So,
Usually, you guys ask about the children and the kids.
Yeah.
What programs they have. They have some information.
for the summers.
Okay, yes. I believe you were one of the ones that spoke last time about the community needed a gate with the kids. Might have been. Yeah. Okay, so we have a TLC program with the city of Miami where every other Tuesday they meet up. The kids create a leadership or vision board. They have financial advisors that go speak out to them, speak about how to build wealth for the future, and just help prepare them for the future. As well as there's a PAL Media where nowadays everything's on social media. Kids learn how to build a portfolio for themselves, also creating content and having fun at the same time. And also we have the Police Explorer program that assists kids that have interest in becoming police officers. I have an email address, which is a point of contact for anyone here that is interested or know anyone that is interested. Whenever you guys are ready, I feel free to say it. It's Andra Barnes, ANDRA, period, BARNES at miami-police.org.
Spell the first name again, please.
ANDRA, Andra.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Yes, at miami-police.org.
Question, what's the age groups for each of those programs? You said TLC, PAL Media, and Police Explorer. Do we know?
I don't have the exact age group. When I did speak to him, I know that it's between normally a lot of high school kids, so normally 14, 17. And then for the PAL program, which is our police athletic leagues, from the age of 5 up to 16. So it varies depending on which program they're trying to get into. Yeah, so for that, yeah, email for sure.
Yeah. Joanne, can we make sure we get a flyer so we can go ahead and distribute that? Okay.
Chair, may I ask a question? I have a question. I don't know if it's you or one of the other officers, but there seems to be quite a bit of traffic issues on my way here just a few minutes ago, right here in the intersection of Northeast 2nd and 62nd, 61st and 62nd, there was another accident. So that seems to be a really, really bad intersection, and I travel it several times a day, so at least maybe, twice a week, there's some sort of accident there, and they're not, small fender benders. So I wanted to know, especially here in downtown Little Haiti with the uptick in traffic, there's more people, more businesses opening, what is being done about traffic enforcement? That is also, I had the privilege to attend last week the event here as well, and that was something that came up a couple times too. And it just seems like there is, it's not just somebody.
So he's actually part of our problem-solving team. So, so he actually wants to respond to that question, but
How you doing? Officer Harris. I'm a part of the problem-solving team for the Little Haiti neighborhood. Basically, to answer your questions, me personally, I'm always actually doing radar at Northeast 2, between that area from like 7-9 to 6-2. That's basically the big gist of the whole problem is a lot of people be speeding a lot in that area. So we do a lot of radars in that area, and from there, that should definitely help out with that problem as far as those accidents happening. We also have a camera, I think, that's in that intersection. So if it turns out to be a crime, maybe a hit or run, whatever it is, we can always identify that from that camera that we have.
My concern stems from the kids in the car, and people really focus, when they're coming north to south, and there's a lot of kids, in that area, especially now in the summer, soccer program, is back in the fall. So that whole situation there, like you're mentioning with the speeding, is a problem. Thank you.
What we can do is we'll get with our supervisors and we'll try to create some sort of operation so that at least certain times throughout the week, like you said, we can do operations where we are more high alert for speeding, for people running the stop signs and any other concerns that you may have, because I know it is a problem and it is our people that's the one that's unfortunately getting the back end of it. So
Yeah, that intersection is crazy
Yeah.
because it's so wide. So thank you.
that's why things like this are important. Now you brought it to our radar and we'll address it.
I appreciate it.
I have one quick question. There was a percentage that was given earlier on firearm crimes being down 49%. What were the actual numbers? I know 40, we play with percentages, they can sound great.
Okay.
There was 2 the month before and it's down 1, it's 50%. So what were the actual numbers on that?
Yes, so year-to-date of 2024, it was at 127, and year-to-date today, it's at 65. No problem.
It's just a bad intersection.
Those, we've done one at 54 Northeast 2 and 54 as well, where they don't even have a turning signal. That's one of those things we've gone out and, look at the issues, but it takes time for them to come out, to send a team out to evaluate it, to actually make those type of changes. But I haven't done that intersection yet, but we'll look into it. And then, like you said, traffic on Northeast 2, unfortunately, a lot of people, they'll try to bypass 7th Avenue, and then Northeast 2 is like the quickest way they can get from the south end to the north end. So if you do have a specific time, if you see that they're going at a certain speed or not, just let us know so we can make sure we have the officers there at that time.
Well, the traffic really picks up in the afternoon. They're looking for an alternative. It's not just Northeast Side, and it's Biscayne Boulevard, it's 7th Avenue, it's, North Miami. Everybody's struggling. But this intersection, the way it's configured, like he's mentioning with the turning, it's wide, it's 61st and 62nd seems to be the problem. And this is like the third head-on collision I've seen in the last couple of weeks. So it's not where somebody just is speeding or, it's accidents and somebody's going to end up in a serious situation or worse. So that's why I was bringing it up. We unfortunately deal with the speeding, here and, everywhere. Everybody's trying to get home and get north. But it starts usually around 4:30, and it's heavy until like 6:30, 7 o'clock. So typical, traffic, people trying to get north and avoid I-95 and, like you're saying, find alternatives. But it is the crashes that are concerning. I mean, you come through here and you see some of the crashes and you wonder how people walked away from them. So.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your service. We now have the annual update from Pierre Soussan. All right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jean Souffrant. I serve as the Executive Director of the Pietusan Leadership and Learning Center with Father Reggie at Notre Dame de Haiti. Just a little bit of background on the center itself. We have been around since 1980 and have been working in the community. One of our key programs is our English literacy program, which has served the community since inception, where people come to learn English in order to better their lives. This is a program that continues on. But in spring of 2022, with the arrival, did I do this? I'm sorry. Because I'm holding on to this like it's my own personal property. So I don't know. So in the spring of 2022, as a response to all the developments that were taking place here in Little Haiti, with Magic City coming, with the project on 54th coming, and all of these projects having to do with tech and digital literacy, we just knew that our people weren't ready to be part of everything that was happening in the community. So in the spring of 2022, we launched our digital literacy program. And since then, we've been operating and having classes. The overall mission of the Pietusan Leadership and Learning Center is to work with the parishioners of Notre Dame de Haiti in any way possible, whether it's through a legal clinic or any type of issues that there is. But with the arrival of our digital literacy program, the mission for that is to basically equip all the underserved young people and the adults, mainly the adults, with digital literacy and workforce-ready skills to foster innovation, inclusion, and opportunity. And what that looks like is different for everybody. The young people maybe just to be able to do better with their homeworks, to do better with school. But for the adults is to mainly focus on removing the fear of what it's like to access a computer and what it's like to have access to a computer when they don't have one at home. Since we started the program in the spring of 2022, we have over 618 students in our management system. And since the last update we sent to the trust, we've added 71 more. We have registered over 1,100 students, and since the last report, we've added about 79 more. And the stream of people that keeps coming based on word of mouth after someone has taken a class, that's what's continued to keep more people in our programs and demand throughout. We have our success metrics are, we've had over 92% of students attending classes. Of those attending classes, we've had over 76% completed the course that they registered to be in, and nearly 50% advanced to the next level of class. And what that means is when someone first comes in, it could be that you, based on initial tests, that you only qualify to be on basic. Basic means that you've never accessed a computer. You don't even know what a mouse is. You don't know what a keyboard is. So once you enter that class, you then can progress to the next level, which would be intermediate, where you learn a little bit more about what it takes to access the computer and do all the things that it takes in the computer. The different sessions, since the spring of 2022, we have held 38 sessions across the lab. We held 3 youth hackathons, and what those are, over a weekend, we bring in young people to solve problems using tech. They come in, we list a list of problems, we separate them in teams, and at the end of the weekend, they all come in, they decide on a project using technology to be able to solve those problems. We have had 2 youth coding classes on Saturdays, that's been very successful, and we currently have 1 tech summer camp that's currently happening right now, actively. The next page is just the numbers all across the different classes that we've had over since starting the program. I'm not going to go into each one in details, but I have some of the presentation here if anybody wants to take it home. So for the next numbers, we've had 473 people go through the basic computer literacy, and as I mentioned, the basic computer literacy is people coming in not knowing anything about a computer at all, and then they progress to intermediate. We've had over 574 of them go through that, and we've had what we call advanced Microsoft, whether it's Word or Excel, but the Microsoft Office. We've had about 251 people have taken classes just to enhance their skills in the Microsoft Office. The trust last year awarded us a grant of $200,000 to be able to continue the work that we've been doing since the spring of 2022. And what we want to continue to do to expand that work, expand youth programs. We want to continue to keep our equipment up to date. We want to continue to serve the community more on a wider basis. And to do that, we have to have the funding to hire teachers, to hire lab assistants, and to pay for the upkeep of the building. Just our contact information there. But just a little bit more about just how grateful we are to the trust for having invested into our tech program. When we initially started, we got a grant from the Miami Foundation, and that kept us afloat. But in order for us to be able to do these programs, especially now when folks who have to go to work don't necessarily have the proper skills to go to work, and then if they're at a job, they're being replaced by folks who may be more digitally enhanced or have better digital skills. Our way of being able to measure the success of our programs over the last 2 years is just by testimonials of people who have been waving about what it meant for them to be able to now can access the computer or help their kids with their homework, or not basically have a fear of, you know, just knowing that it's just a machine that they can access it. So I have one testimonial. It is in Creole, so Creole, of Marie, who, and every semester we do a few testimonials of different students who took the class. So this is just one of many. I don't know if we're able to do it.
Comme t'es pas jamais t'es qu'on compte. C'est Pierre Toussaint qui aide moi. C'est Pierre Toussaint qui apprend moi ouvrir computer encore. C'est Pierre Toussaint qui fait me connaître en pile bagaille. Qu'on y a là, on capable dire, on capable monter sur computer pour compte moi pas besoin de monde. Grâce à Pierre Toussaint. On capable aller dans Microsoft Word et puis on voulait écrire un bagaille écrit grâce à Pierre Toussaint. Si qu'on y a là, on capable monter sur un email, ouvrir un email pour moi. On capable monter, c'est Pierre Toussaint.
So the lab, the tech lab, is equipped with 66 new computers, and we keep having to change them because they break down. And we are open Monday through Friday, and we do sessions on Saturdays for people who may need assistance with paying their bills or just maybe having access to a computer because they don't have one at home. So.
So I have some questions for you. You mentioned that you kind of base your success on the testimonials, and you had the one testimonial. How do we put some sort of empirical definition of success to kind of show how people are growing from various stages of their computer access and literacy?
So we can look at the numbers to see those who enter from the basic class, and those are the percentage of them that progress to the next level, which is the intermediate, and the percentage of them that go into a more advanced class, like the Microsoft Office. And one of the things I should add around that same thing is a lot of times when the folks, the adults that come to us, and I have to say, earlier I mentioned that we also have our English literacy classes. A lot of those people are learning to read and write, are learning to speak English. So the transition from there into a computer class to learn digital literacy. Their goal is just basically to do exactly what Marie mentioned in her testimony, to be able to know what they don't know. Not necessarily that they're coming into the class because they're going into the tech industry, not necessarily that, but to be able to be in a place where they don't have that fear that this is something that's happening around them and they're being left behind. But when it comes to empirical data, I would say that just looking at the numbers from when someone enters the basic class to moving to the intermediate class, and then the next level would be advanced to one of the Microsoft Office classes.
Is there any way you can kind of get us that information?
Oh, it's in there. The percentage is in there, but specifically I can.
Because I see 574 at intermediate and 251 at advanced.
Right, so.
But somebody could enter in the intermediate
Directly.
phase versus basic,
Yes.
right? Because I see
Right.
basic is even lower.
Right, because
And they also could enter into advanced.
based on their current skills.
Correct.
Yes.
But it doesn't show me the growth, how people have grown if you were basic, if you grew to intermediate.
I can get those numbers specifically for you, yes.
I'm going somewhere with this.
No,
That's
no,
why that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
I need to show the efficacy in the use of the money, because I may have a way of transferring you from our budget to another budget
Oh, that would
to
be
get
great.
the money.
That would be great.
And that would help us do some other things in the community.
Okay.
But I'm going to need to get some of that empirical data to kind of show the impacts that the program is having in the community and show that growth. And it might be a way of doing that. Now, right now, you say you're receiving 250 from us, right?
No, the grant was 200 over a 2-year period.
Per year? 100 per year. And what were you getting from the foundation?
The foundation initially, when we first started, this was back in 2022, gave us a grant of $75,000 a year over a 2-year period as well.
Okay. In order to effectively run what you're doing and get it to the next level, what do you think you need per year?
$397,000.
Oh, Lord. I'm going to need you to get me something to show me
Okay.
how you go from the 100 per year and another $300,000 and the impacts
That does.
that does.
I will do that.
And let me work on something.
I will do that.
Okay.
I have a couple questions too.
Yes.
Hi, good evening again.
Good.
We are going to break, this is our last meeting until September. When we come back in September, would you be able to also, when you come back with the information for Mr. Holland, bring us some current information for 2025? Because what you have is through the fall of 2024. So when we come back in September, that'll be quite some time. So if you could visit us again, or if you could get that to Joanne and, give us a little bit of an explanation with current data, because it'll be a little bit of time that's passed, and I wanted to see, what's going on more currently.
Sure thing. That would be part of the quarterly update I'll
Okay.
send to them.
Perfect. And then I'd like to know if you have any appetite to broaden the programs. For example, like into resume writing, into obtaining an email and using email to communicate, because, I mean, you're, operating with one hand tied behind your back, so to speak, if you're not communicating by email at this point. And also, is there any desire to a service like OSHA classes to bring in a teacher, construction site safety classes, things of that nature? Basic, the OSHA 10, the OSHA 30, simple classes like that. And I'm trying to see if you are, have any appetite to expand your offerings.
We do. To your first question about the resume writing and expanding, having people to be able to write emails, that's part of the more advanced course. That's a part of that. We even attempted to, maybe 2 semesters ago, to have a job training program, just focus on those basics, how to dress for a resume, how to do, and all of that. That didn't fare out too well, so we had to pull back. We may be going back into that just to be able to get people ready for that. We are always ready to partner with different organizations. If we had a partner that would be coming in to do the OSHA classes, I'm more open to that. We don't currently have an instructor that would be able to do that, but I'm open to anything. We have the facility, the equipment's there. We have the bodies of people who can willingly participate, so I'm always willing to partner with anyone. Yes.
Yeah, I'm of the same mindset that you are, that, get people ready.
Through the chair, I also had a couple questions. One was around like career and technology pipeline. Are you considering, if you haven't already, eyeing people who are doing very well in the class and seeing like possible career opportunities that they could have, and maybe creating that partnership, like a pipeline for the current students as like a direct impact?
Well, Toussaint had the opportunity to come to the lab, so I'm very happy that you did. That, again, I think we're always open to opportunity because we are in a community that we feel that always gets left behind when it comes to technological advances. So we want to be able to offer our people the very best that there is out there. But sometimes we don't have the right connection, right? We're not connected to the right people. So my doors are always open to be able to foster that kind of pipeline, to be able to, someone who excels in one of our classes, to be able to go to a job and say, I have a candidate for this specific job. So I am open to that.
And also, I know we have several schools in the area, but I feel like Pierre Toussaint Center has a little bit more autonomy with their scheduling and access. Or are you all open to open it up to youth as well? I know you had like two youth camps.
Yeah, 3. We had 3 hackathons, and then we had one. We currently have a small summer camp that's going on. The thing with Notre Dame de Haiti, for those of you who are familiar, it's an open community with over 5,000 people that frequent it every Sunday. So there's a mixture of people from different communities all around. So we typically tend to just, focus on those people because they're from different parts of the community. However, any schools that we can partner with to do more programs, like our coding classes that we do on Saturdays, we want to recruit more kids from around here or even beyond to be able to participate because we know what coding can do for a kid that's growing up.
All right, so I think there's an opportunity for us to bring in more youth because we have to create a pipeline. I agree. When I see older folks, and it's all love, but it's also we want to build because we see what's happening. We got to get back to the youth to give them those resources as well. So maybe we can talk more about ways we can partner up and different resources we can bring so that we can get the youth involved as well.
Yes, and I want to add that, as the board who's supporting us, who's investing in the center, I want you to be as involved as you possibly can in every way that you possibly can to make sure that we are doing those things in the community.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Fascinating work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
we'll go ahead and go into legislative items.
We have the second small business here for the presentation, but if we can go ahead and do the minutes, and because we're fixing the check, and then we'll do that.
No problem. So for approval of the minutes, approving the minutes for June 10th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Is the check ready?
Waiting on it, maybe we can go ahead and go to 4C resolution.
Do we need an absent waiver?
Oh, yes, we do. We're
Okay.
missing Rudy.
Okay. Can't motion
Second. I motion
Oh.
for the absent waiver for Rudy.
Oh, I second.
it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We do have a check presentation for Basil Medical Center. The small business owners are here. They're receiving $20,000. You guys.
Give her that one back, and then they'll give you that.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity also.
Get your mic.
Oh.
Okay.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay, so my name is Grace. I am from Basil Medical Center. It is a medical office that is owned by myself and my father. We've been in the community for 40 years, or at least they have been. I am just coming in for the past few years. We do internal medicine and OBGYN, as well as some med spa services. And it is nice to have the support of the community. This is the second time that we received something from the community, so it is really nice. And hopefully we can continue to work together in the future. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to Joanne and the rest of the members for the support given to us. We have been around, like Grace said, for over 40 years. And we serve the needed mostly, because the community, the Haitian, and the rest of the people that's been serving by us, they don't have the money. Most of the time we have people coming for service, they can't even get the money to go to the pharmacy. Sometimes we have to help them out. So it has been a privilege for us to work with not only the city of Miami, but also to many friends around South Florida. So again, thank you. We appreciate it. Look forward to do more with you guys. I appreciate it.
We'll go back to legislative items. Resolution 2025-008, funding request from Manger Pour Vivre.
Yeah, so this is through our funding policy in which organizations are able to request funding up to 25% of their total project. So this is a cooking class that's called Manger Pour Vivre that is over 6 sessions that it takes place here at the Little Haiti Cultural Center on Saturdays. It's a partnership between two organizations that provide healthy eating habits that happened. Each session, they focus on a different recipe. This is going to be their third cohort. They actually started this past weekend. They have data information in regards to the first two cohorts that took place here at the Cultural Center as well. And so they're asking for $6,250, which is the 25% maximum for the total budget of the $25,000 to be able to offer this class to the community over the next 6 weeks. And that's it. I don't know if there's any questions.
How many participants?
So I don't know how much they had at the last one, but I know it was open. They originally, in their presentation, you had about 50? Yeah. So originally, they had estimated 40, and this past Saturday, I guess they had 50 people who participated. So it is open to the public. It is free for people to participate. The flyer's in there as well.
Please, so you can.
How you doing? How you doing? My name is Fritz Fenelon. I'm the co-founder of Lair Production. My partnership is with Ashley from Ewell Exchange. She's not here tonight, but we do expect like about 40 people per class, but it's open, so the doors are always open. So if a family come in and they see what's going on and they want to cook, we got extra ingredients and extra stoves and stuff, so everybody is open to cook. So sometimes we might do 50 like we did last class. Sometimes it might go a little under, but typically we see around 40 people per every other Saturday.
How many classes during the cohort?
8.
8.
8. This the first one had 8, the second one had 8. This one we're going to do probably like 7 and 2 special events. Yeah.
And your total budget is how much?
It was 25,000. It was about 25 to 30, because sometimes they go over depending on the foods that we cook that week. It might go over like this week. I'm thinking about doing fish, so which is going to be a little bit more expensive class. So it fluctuates, but I think about 25,000 total to get the whole cohort done.
So you're talking about a little over $3,000 per class.
Yeah, it'd be somewhere around there. Cause like I said, everything free. So I usually go buy the groceries. We the stoves, the butane cans, things like that. So the classes can get pretty expensive. We have been okay with it, getting it going, but yeah.
So as you grow this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I can tell you, it's not going to be a financial model that works.
I know.
Okay, so I just want to be honest with you. At $3,000 a class and it's free food, you may want to start looking at some nominal charge to kind of offset some of that stuff. Okay.
Yes.
When's the next class?
The 19th. I think that's not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
You're doing fish?
Yeah, I'm gonna do and you guys getting the first scoop, so I'm gonna do poisson and sweet potato, patate blanc. So get the people, gotta get the people, the rest. The class is from 3 to 5, and like I said, everything is free. The food is free, and then we have a taster at the end. So whatever you cook, you can't eat it. You could go around the tables. If you see another chef that you might want to try theirs, it's open. You could go, and we just kind of be in this spot, and we have it going. DJ, cameraman, things like that. So it's a real community thing that happens here every other Saturday.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve the item this time.
Yeah.
In the future, you got to show me some offsets.
No, I got you. I mean, it is expensive. The 2 cohorts that we did get done, we had some other funding that helped. It took some personal money to get it going. So I do understand, but like I always say, we revitalizing the community a little bit. So right now we got to kind of take the brunt end of it, and then when everything kind of move in regular, we'll kind of pull it back a little bit. But we got to get the people excited and want to come out and cook and stuff like that.
So you need to get a second. I've already made the motion.
I just wanted to add, they have received funding in the past from Miami Foundation. I believe it was NBC6, and now for the For Good Foundation. So they, through their partner, Eat Well Exchange, have applied and received grant fundings.
And, for what it's worth, I've been in the class. I'm very confident in supporting a program like this because I learned to make pickles in the class. What else did I learn? I learned how to, I missed the griot class.
You missed it, yeah.
I did 2 classes.
Yeah.
It's excellent. It's run very well. It's a really good model, and I think if we can support more programs like this, it can really elevate the culture. So I'm ready. If there's no questions.
Got a second?
All right. So, second? Yeah, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations.
I just want to say thank you to the board. I want to say thank you to Joanne for, getting behind the program. And we're going to make sure we highlight the trust too as well in our marketing materials and stuff like that. And just letting the people know you guys have become a partner of it and just putting it out in the universe. So I do want to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, resolution 2025-009, Home Rehabilitation Program Exception Amendment for Edlu, Danielle, and Wesley Lawas.
Yes, this is for the elderly couple that we previously had approved for the $63,000 to assist with their home rehab program. They did receive funding from the city of Miami. They needed additional funds, and through an exception that we did at a previous board meeting through resolution, we had approved to go above our $50,000 to provide them with $63,000. All the renovations that were done, in which I believe it was at the last meeting, we provided the photos to show all the work that has been done to the property, from the floors to the kitchen to the bathroom, from I believe the windows, which have been done as well. All the funding from the city and from the trust has gone through towards the renovations that have been done inside the property. The applicant is now requesting for an additional $23,500, which there is a quote that is provided by the contractor who did the work through the city's rehab program, in which they would be doing stucco and painting on the exterior of the property. So we're bringing back the resolution for an amendment to increase the figure from the $63,000 by adding an additional $23,500 to be able to do the work on the exterior of the property.
I have issues with it, I have to be very honest. What was our total budget for home improvement?
50?
No.
500,000.
500,000. That means this one property gets you almost close to 100,000. 20% of your total budget.
That's
So I do have a problem with that. The city has already given 100,000 towards repairs. We've already given 63 towards repairs. I do a lot of renovations. You can get, and the whole purpose is to make a house decent, safe, and sanitary. And for $170,000, you can make a house decent, safe, and sanitary. It's not meant to totally rehab the whole house at a low interest forgivable loan. And I think if we do that, we open up a Pandora's box. Everybody now starts to say, well, you've done this already. Why not me? And we don't have the funding ability to do that. I'm just being very honest. I don't doubt the house may need some additional repairs, but there are a lot of folk in this community who need some help, whether it's there or if we have to shift the money to business facades or some other things. I just don't want to eat up all the money with 5 or 6 people. I just think that's unfair to the community, despite how good this project may be. So I think, with all honesty, the fact that we've done 100, the city's done 100, and we've done 63 or whatever, that's an amazing pull down on low-interest loans that are forgivable if you're in the house for 10 years, so on and so forth, and the properties can be sold for $600,000-$700,000. At some point, you have to put some skin in the game for some of the little small things that you need to have done. So on this one, I would be voting no, because we've already, our limit was 50, and we extended that to 63 as an accommodation, even though they'd already gotten 100. I just think at this point, it's licking the plate, and I would vote against that. And it's no offense to the homeowners. I guarantee you they probably need the additional help, but we need to help some additional people, and I'm more about helping a volume of people versus 1 or 2 families. So I would be against this. I would actually make a motion against it, but I would like to hear the rest of the comments from the board.
So along the same lines, an exception was already made to go above the $50,000. I do remember when the couple came, the woman had some health issues, had to temporarily relocate, and what happened with the house and the renovations, you know, now she's able to safely live in her home. Hopefully her medical conditions has improved, but I think the exception that we made previously suffices what we need to give at this point, because 20% for one family is a big amount. And so when we made the criteria to do 50,000, that means that's 10 families. If we start to go over to $100,000 here, $80,000 here, now it's less impact on the community. So I have to agree with Mr. Holland. I will be voting no against this.
I feel the same way. Don't need to reiterate it. I'm willing to second your motion. I don't know if Ashley has anything, but I'm willing to second the motion.
Yeah, I have no comment on this resolution.
All those in favor to approve?
Needs to make a full motion.
Well, actually, you don't need to do any of that.
Okay.
If you don't want to approve it, nobody makes the motion, right? And it fails for lack of a motion.
That's right.
Okay, we'll go into the CEO report.
Yes. So I wanted to, I don't know where she is, but we have our intern through the summer youth program at the city. She is spending the summer with us. Her name is Angela Brown. Oh, she left already, but she was here earlier. So we're excited to have her. She's going to be here with us throughout the entire summer, and that's through the Summer Jobs Connect program at the city, in which she's receiving her stipend for her work through the city. So that's great for us. We are currently still working on our website. We got our first visual of what it would look like, and so we're busy putting our materials together. So I'm hoping that we'll have a completely new look and new website, hopefully within the next 2 months. Next is that I wanted to provide an update about our strategic plan that we worked on with FIU. We have contracted with a group called Urban Impact Lab, who's done a lot of work in urban development, and our strategic playbook was more of an overall guide, but with the Urban Impact Lab, we're going to be working on an action plan that is based through that strategic look. So at the next board meeting in September, we will be coming back with the complete strategic plan for your review. I'm hoping during our recess in August that we'll be able to have one-on-ones to provide you with the update of the strategic plan and the action plan for your feedback, so that we can have it voted on and approved at the September meeting. As far as programming updates are concerned, last month in June, we partnered with Breakthrough Miami, which is a leadership in college readiness program, and we did canvassing within the Little Haiti neighborhood. This is our third canvassing project that we've done, and these were also with high school students who are participating in that Breakthrough Miami program for the summer. We are participating in a heat sensor project that is funded by the Miami Foundation in partnership with the City of Miami's Office of Resilience and Sustainability. We were able to get 10 residents in Little Haiti to allow us to be able to put sensors inside and outside their home, and we are going to be monitoring that through October 3rd of this year. Each family receives 2 gift cards, 100 base when we install it and 100 when it is completed. So staff, you see the pictures, have been going out to the homes and installing the sensors. Also, as far as an update, we have been partnering with Catholic Charities. We're currently offering both a parenting class and father class. Each of them are happening every week here at the Little Haiti Cultural Center on Tuesday and Wednesday nights in partnership with Catholic Charities. For the month of July, our open house was focused on real estate development. We had a list of speakers from the South Florida Community Land Trust, Miami Homes for All. We had someone in finance and also a general contractor who just provided some information to emerging and developers who were interested, property owners, and so that was a well-attended event that happened last month. We were contacted by FIU Metropolitan Center because they were interested in putting a proposal to the Small Business Anti-Displacement Network, which is an organization based out of DC that focuses on supporting small businesses in gentrifying neighborhoods. They wanted to do a case study in Little Haiti and wanted to know whether or not the trust would be interested in participating. And so we confirmed that, and we were notified that they were selected. It's a small grant just to do a case study, learning information about the small businesses in Little Haiti and what type of support that they need. So we'll be working with FMU in regards to that as well. Next is your small business grant update, providing us with information. We'll have an extensive report probably in September. We're looking to make some changes to the way that the small business grant is administered due to how we're receiving information now. So we'll be following up in September with that. As far as a financial update is concerned, we have your financial report, but in addition, we received $2,500 from Commissioner Keon Hardeman's office for the celebration of Happy Birthday Little Haiti. And we also received $2,500 from the Miami Foundation for the participation in the He Sensor project. Both of these donations will be submitted to City Commission as is required by our ordinance. So Tom is diligently working on making sure that it gets done. And that concludes the CEO report.
I have two questions. I want to go back to the FIU strategic playbook and the Urban Impact Lab. If you could expand on that a little bit and talk about the scope for the Urban Impact Lab and what the cost is for their services.
Sure. So I think that when we received the strategic plan back from FIU, there was a lot of concerns, and we kind of got the same general feedback on how there wasn't a way that showed where we are now and how we would be able to implement what is in the FIU strategic plan. And so what it's missing really are tangible action steps that get us to where we want to be. And so the Urban Impact Lab is an organization that's worked on a lot of projects here in Miami, like the Underline, and they have a list of projects that they've worked on. And I shared with them the FIU strategic plan and the feedback that we've received. And they kind of immediately aligned the language to these are our goals and how we need to strategically get there. And so their goal is not really establishing the strategic plan because we have that there, but it's an action step that is more clearly defined than the timeline that we were given with the FIU strategic plan. The cost to us is $10,000 in order for them to be able to do that. They're currently already working on doing this. So I'm confident by sometime in August that we'll have both the FIU strategic plan and now this action timeline that we can present for review by the board sometime in August. I don't know if I answered all your questions. Yeah?
A few questions for you. Still on the FIU partnership, when we were presented with the FIU partnership, it had a partnership team that was very reflective of the community. And I'd like to know in their report just how reflective was the work with those community partners that they had in that presentation. Because that was one of the reasons why I chose or pushed for their contract, was because they had a very, very diverse team. Oftentimes, people will come in with a diverse team, but when the work is actually let out, that diverse team gets no work. So I'd like to know how that work was let out under that contract, if you can have them give us a report on that to show that, number one.
Yeah, so I can ask for that. I know that because there's still outstanding payments, but I can ask for how it was, what has been paid has been divided amongst the team, correct?
Well, I would actually love for them to do a presentation to us.
Mm-hmm.
That way people know that we paid attention when you put your proposal forth, and we're paying attention at the end that you honored what you say you would honor.
Okay, I'll ask for that information and ask for the presentation.
My second item was, I know you say there was some sort of workshop with contractors of some sort, correct?
Every month we do our open house series. It focuses on a different topic. This month we did it on real estate development because there's a lot of interest about people either owning properties, even though we see that the home ownership level is low. There has been a lot of information that we found about families who still own the property and they're interested, even though they live somewhere else, and they're interested in learning what they can still do for the property. So we did an event that we called Real Estate 101, where it was kind of focused on either property owners or emerging developers, somebody who would be interested in knowing, like, what are the first steps if I wanted to do some type of development on the property. And so we had someone who was in finance, we had a general contractor who's worked on projects, we had South Florida Community Land Trust, which is that project that we funded. We had an organization called Miami Homes for All. They have a mentorship program for emerging developers, and they're going to be launching something they call a funding circle, which is similar to like a Shark Tank, where they bring in people who are interested in developing, and they have a group of funders who are around the table who would be interested in funding different projects at different levels. So they're a nonprofit organization that provides that support. And then I think I'm missing maybe one more speaker.
I'm in the process with this whole anti-DEI move, but with major development going on in the urban core, to create a consortium of minority contractors and subs that can be qualified and bonded and all the other stuff. So I would love to at least have that introduction of that group to you. I have no pecuniary interest in it at all. It's just I see there's a need for it. Maybe they can even come here for those meetings and start building capacity within those ranks of contracting, because as this urban core development is going on, they should be working in these communities that they live in and or were raised in. And so I would love to try to pass that information on to you, and you can work with them. I'm just serving as a seed because I have contractors that I represent, and I want to make sure that they do the right thing. But it might be something great for the trust to be behind in helping to develop something like that. And I think it would dovetail on some of the stuff that you're already doing. There's also another group from a financing Shark Tank concept called Black Angels Miami. Maybe another group that you sit down with, and what they do is they look at upstart businesses and they find business folk within the community. They all have these meetings on it, and it's like Shark Tank. You come in, you present this business, and people fund it. And it's at the multi-million-dollar level or the smaller level. But it may be a great group to have a connection with, Black Angels Miami.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Sorry. We have some discussion points. Sorry. Yeah, discussion items. First one is Miami 8333 LLC.
Yes, I just wanted to provide an update. So this is the application for a small business grant that came before the board at the last meeting, in which the board requested additional information. The applicant was the property owner, but there was the business that was operating by his father. So they're still in the process of trying to provide us with the information that's requested. Since it's lingering, it was brought to the board and there was no motion that was done. It was to defer it. I would like to request for us to withdraw until we have the appropriate information. So do we need a motion to withdraw? Yeah, so we do need a motion to withdraw the application at this time.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is the LHRT scholarship program. So when we were passing our budget for the upcoming fiscal year, the board had voted to establish some type of scholarship program. And so I'm bringing back this information as a discussion item to receive some guidance on how to move forward. What we did was try to establish a program that is similar to the Bright Future Scholars that's already in existence, and created scholarships that are aligned with the different tiers that Bright Futures already ask or provides. And so at the end of the scholarship, there are some questions that I wanted to review with the board to see how we would like to go. The first thing, we highlighted what the costs are for each of the students, what college tuition currently is for the last academic year, what the additional supplemental costs are, in addition to just tuition, books and supplies, housing, transportation, and other types of expenses. We were interested in knowing whether or not the goal of this is just to cover tuition cost. Are we looking to cover the additional costs that students may occur in order for us to be able to come up with a dollar figure for each of the tiers that correlate to a tier in the Florida Bright Scholars?
So I do like the fact that you're following a model, and if awarded a scholarship, there's a criteria you have to maintain. It's not like a one and done. So if your GPA is not on point for the semester, there's a possibility you're placed on probation, and then you may lose the scholarship. So I do like that criteria, just to make sure it's not a one and done type situation. We award a scholarship and then we kind of walk away. Now we understand that this person is maintaining all of the required criteria that's already established. One of the things is, because again, we want to be able to impact as many people, as many young students as we can, I suggest having a dollar amount. Because if we're going to say we're going to cover all of the additional expenses, we haven't even gotten there to talk about how much we're going to put into the scholarship program, but it may be we're only funding 1 or 2 kids. So definitely a dollar amount, maybe a dollar amount per tier, because based on the tier, you get less money. So if you're getting 100% of tuition paid, that's 100% of tuition, but of course, you may have other scholarships or other things. So I would like to see a dollar amount. It's a suggestion, a dollar amount per tier, not just to kind of open it up and have them ask, okay, I'm missing $20,000 to go to college. Can you fund me? If that makes sense.
So is that something we can discuss now and come up with a figure?
I'll be honest, I have a daughter that's in college right now, and that's 90 grand a year, so I don't know if you can afford a full scholarship. So you may want to look at some number in that scholarship. But I'll give you a wrinkle that I use on a foundation that I'm the president of as a not-for-profit. I do what I call named scholarships. And so you have community folk out of this community who have done very well for themselves. Doc, Pimbook, several out of this community. And you come up with a program whereby which you match what they put up, and it create a legacy scholarship. So now if that kid gets a scholarship in his name and he's still living, he gets a chance to interact with that kid each year, which encourages that kid to be great at what they want to do. Maybe they want to go into medicine, maybe they want to go into business, but it's nothing like knowing that you've actually met the person whose name the scholarship is in. And so there's several people, Father Reggie, any number of folk. And let's say we come up with 10 and they match it with 10. They get the tax write-off for it, but this kid gets the benefit from having to interact with these community legends. And that serves as an inspiration for them moving forward. So maybe that's one way of looking at putting some dollars up, but also growing it. And then as you meet people along the way, you try to encourage them to get into this program. And it can cross a number of vocations as long as you have these relationships where we're willing to match if you're willing to put up, and that's that name scholarship. So that's one way of looking at it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was, when it comes to dollar amount, I mean, there's other questions we put in here, out of state, in-state or out of state, and so that can also impact what it can make. So if we're gonna do out of state, then that dollar amount may not mean as much if it's out of state. Maybe it needs to shift depending if the student is in-state or out of state. So that's something to look at because they're gonna incur out-of-state fees. Also, another thing that I wanted to, well, we could probably just think about that one then. Like that's just something up for discussion.
Yeah,
If it's in-state, obviously if it's in-state, it's gonna the dollar amount will go further versus than if it's out of state.
Yes, so on the last page, there is a list of questions, and one of them would be whether or not this should be for students that are attending in Florida or out of state. So one, I think there is a consensus that there should be a dollar amount assigned to each tier. I don't know whether or not there wants to be an established amount of, correlating to the opposite of how much they're receiving in tuition. Maybe it's the students that are receiving less towards their tuition that are receiving a higher scholarship amount to try to balance that out. So that's just, or if there's a specific dollar amount that you want to assign to every tier, if you're starting off with $5,000 per student and then going down to $2,500 or $500.
And if we're gonna do out of state, Bright Futures wouldn't even be a criteria. So we would have to establish the criteria another way.
We could use the criteria. We could use the same like verbiage, but like you could still pay for. Hypothetically, the way Bright Futures work is used as a mechanism to try to keep kids in state. So that's why the money goes to in-state schools. But everything else is generic. So we can still use the criteria. I think the best way to do it is to research, maybe what the average cost of tuition would be across the state, and then determine what that set amount would be. Because you have private schools, like Bethune-Cookman is probably going to be more expensive than Florida A&M. Do we want to average those, what that would be across the state? And then so when kids are deciding or families are deciding on that particular scholarship or the school, that scholarship might impact whether the kid wants to go to a private college or a public college, depending on, how much that dollar amount is. So, but that dollar amount has to be based off of a foundational price or cost, which I think should be the average tuition across the state, if we have that number.
So the total cost for a student attending inside of the state of Florida going to a public school, including the tuition and additional expenses, is at the 25. So we already know that if they're attending a private school, the cost would be higher. And then also if they're attending out of state, the cost would probably at a minimum be equivalent or higher than these figures. So if we should want to determine an amount, I think this would be the figure of the 25 for tuition and additional expenses would be the basis. also, just to go back, we, at the budget, we assigned $100,000 towards this. So I think we also need to be cognizant that there's only a certain number of scholarships that we would technically be able to provide. So I think as we establish what these parameters are, it helps to put a cap on that number that we could provide. And so determining whether or not it's in-state and out-of-state just kind of helps for us to stay on target as to the students that we're trying to achieve, to assist through this program.
Thank you. I'm struggling with this a little bit. I know what your intent is in bringing it, but being here since the beginning and building the trust and, you know, getting to where we've got to this point, I'm having a little bit of heartache with that this is very labor intensive as far as our staff, as far as our capacity, and I don't know if it's totally sustainable. So I'm thinking that maybe to start out in the beginning that we have a fixed, like question number 4, a fixed amount, instead of trying to private, public, in-state, out-of-state, capture a total dollar amount, considering what we allotted to this. If we go with $5,000 or $10,000, for example, we can help a lot of kids maybe plug in that last piece, what they're missing, their books, or getting a computer, or their meal plan, or something of that nature. But to carry, you know, $25,000 per student is a heavy lift for us at this time. And I think, you know, I'm in the same mindset of helping as many people as possible. And the way I've seen this done is it's a, you know, flat number. You know, when we've given to something or donated, or I see different, when, you know, it's time to start filling out applications, in, you know, 10th and 11th grade for college, and there's a fixed amount. You know, it's not a kind of a rolling open number. So I'm a little bit wary, you know, that we're opening up, you know, supporting a student, you know, all 4 years with a total cost. I mean, we're looking at, you know, like Mr. Holland saying.
Oh, speaking to the mic.
Oh, sorry. Like Mr. Holland was saying, this is, you know, depending on the student, on the program, you know, if they're in school 4 or 5 years. So I think that, at least in my opinion, and for the capacity of the trust at this time, we need to go with a fixed number to help as many kids as possible, and also, you know, capacity-wise, and being actually able to implement this program, that it's finite. You know, it's not review this, bring this receipt, print out this, you know, and we're putting a lot of extra administrative work on the trust staff is what I'm concerned with.
And just to be clear, it's a one-time scholarship. We weren't funding every 4.
We haven't discussed.
We haven't, okay.
We make all those, we decide that.
Okay.
So
Because then you are now, if we do it, if it's a one-time, you get more, you're able to impact more students.
Like
But
20
now,
kids a year.
Exactly, but if now you have a rolling
And we're
budget,
talking $10,000,
how many
$25,000,
new
that's
students?
$100,000.
Yeah, how many new students are you going to get every year, if that makes sense?
Yep, these are all things that we're open to. Like, this is just a guideline based on something that was already given. We determine how robust we want it to be. So this is the opportunity for us to talk about it.
So I have a suggestion. The one that I do is $2,500 a year per student. I try to get somebody also to match it. But we try to give it to them for a 4-year period. So it's 25, 25, 25, 25, provided they have a certain grade point average each year. So it helps you throughout that tenure. And I do a $10,000 scholarship for law school and a $10,000 scholarship for medical school. I'm not suggesting you go there, but you may want to look at $2,500 as your per scholarship amount. You decide whether it's a one-time scholarship, or if a kid continues to do well, you give it to them the following year. And then you reach out to people. I know I just represented Dr. Biename on something. I'm sure he would be willing to match something in his namesake. Then you have Chef Creole, might be willing to match something in his namesake. Piman Book, Dr. Joe. So I'm just thinking of guys that I've represented. Dr. Pierre down the street, Rudy Moise, just thinking of some of the folk that I know are great side of the community and getting them.
Fritz Fenelon.
Fritz willing to fund one. Okay. So I think if we reach out to them with a plan, that this is what we're willing to do for the students within this area to encourage them to continue on their successful path, it gives us a greater bang for the buck, and it also gives us a greater impact with the kids. And to me, every one of those kids that get a scholarship in that named person should have the opportunity to meet that person, maybe go out to lunch with them or dinner, because that exchange is powerful for kids who never get a chance to interact with someone who's a professional. To be able to sit across a table and have that personal interaction is powerful when that's not what you've seen in your home. So I think if we do it, we need to do it with some impact to it. And I'll work with some other folk to even provide internships for those kids that get our scholarships. So during the summers, they'll have an internship doing something. So we may even be able to add a little extra to that as well.
I like it. I think right now, the way my brain is working, I don't think this is something you could tease out now, but I do like the direction that Mr. Holland is going with around impact, making sure that we get as many opportunities as possible within our budget. So at least we can start there. I'm not sure if this is a voting time, but definitely just to give y'all things to work on. I do like the $2,500 per student, per pupil, just so we can have an impact and a match. Like if we can't discuss or decide anything tonight, I'm good with that one for now.
If I may suggest, because we have 3 tiers here. So if we wanted to start off the top tier at the 2,500, do 1,000, do 500 for the different tiers, or do you just want to do 2,500?
I think with school being so
Because I get nervous, I would stick at 2,500. Joanne, no exceptions.
Okay.
For $5,000, 2,500 per scholarship.
No, I was going down.
No, just leave it at 2,500.
Okay.
1,000 doesn't really help you. I have to be very honest with you. And 500 doesn't help you. 2,500.
So would you like to do the top tier, or any of these tiers would be eligible for 2,500? Is that correct?
I think we're just doing a set dollar amount.
Set dollar amount.
Yeah, set dollar amount. Yeah.
And whatever the criteria for them to obtain the scholarship, is it an essay, is it a presentation?
That's to be determined. That's like what. Yeah,
So is it for, if someone received a scholarship, are they eligible up to 4 years, or just for the first year?
I think you can say they're eligible up to 4 years if they have a certain grade point average that you can verify. Don't be like my oldest son. He came and he created his grade somewhere else and showed me and got a benefit. There was a bonus payment he got from me, and come to find out that wasn't his real grades. So you need to be able to verify the grades. And if they, maintain a B average, then I think they should be able to be at least qualified to go forth to the next round.
And eligible for both in-state or out-state?
That makes me nervous, the continued 4 years, yeah. Because then you're now carrying over, if you awarded 20, now you're carrying 20, potential 20, and adding another 20. That $100,000 is not going to go that far. That's my only concern.
So should we put a cap on the number, and it's first come, first serve, and in the first year, we're giving 10? Or something along those lines?
I guess my question is this. So the 100,000 is not for perpetuity. It's just that one time. Because that 100,000 would have. That's a concern if that 100,000 is not in the budget annually. But if the 100,000 carries every budget, then that's not the issue what you're talking about. So we got to decide if this 100,000 budget is going to be eligible every year, or we're just doing a one-time 100,000.
How would that not be part of the budget if say for instance it's $2,500, right, and we've awarded it to 25 kids, right, and they qualify for the next 4 years, they meet all the criteria, we're now carrying those 25 kids, and now we're going to have new students who are graduating, that's going to increase the budget. As opposed to we're saying right now $100,000 or $50,000, whatever it is, per year, and it's only for new students going into college, freshman students. you limit the amount, because if you're carrying forward, now you're limiting the amount of students that can get it in the years coming in. You would actually have to wait until those students kind of fall off for you to come back to that bigger number.
I don't see it. I'm not
Well,
seeing
I
it.
guess one of the things you can do, I think she's saying even if you put $100,000 in the budget every year for the scholarship, if you're making it for a 4-year period, the kids who start out in year one will eat up all that $100,000 every 4 years. I mean, each year. So you don't have a chance to bring on anyone new. And so you can make it potentially available for the first year, unless you have matching dollars and there's a way that named scholarship will stay with that kid, provided they have a 3-point grade point average for that year. And if not, then that scholarship becomes available again back into your pool, because you should not be rewarding people with a scholarship if they're not willing to do the work. And so there's going to be some growing pains trying to figure that out, but I do think it is a worthwhile cause to try to make sure that you incentivize young folk to want to attain some sort of success through school. And if that means that's an investment we make it cautiously, understanding we have some programmatic budgets that we have to stay within, which is why we don't go and give them $3,000 or $3,500 or whatever. We're going to stay within the $2,500.
We'll probably vote no exceptions, huh?
No exceptions. Not even for twins. I'm wondering if there's a world where we could do a calculator, right, and we can kind of see a different model that can show over the life of even the trust or whatever, that can show like over a 30-year period how much would be allocated each year with the new cohorts coming in, with the matching. If we could see that over, and then we could kind of like budget it wisely and not take on something that could get out of control. Maybe not right now, but it would vary. But like at most, like because year one is just gonna be 100,000. Year two, if we fund a new cohort fully, that's gonna be 100 plus another 100. So seeing how that would grow over the years if we did it that way. And then
But you would be doubling that amount every year, because you're bringing in the people kind of like from the year before. And if you have, and I'm also going to say we have to be realistic that at $2,500 with $100,000, that's 40 students that we would be able to receive the applications from, because we would have to create an application, have to be able to review the application, and then process whatever documents would be needed in order to be able to submit it. So I'm not sure we would be able, like with all our programs, like we have to roll it out and everything. So I'm not sure whether or not we would be able to reach that 40. You could also say that the maximum every year is the 40 students. So whoever students do come back this year, you calculate the following year, you calculate that. Let's say you have only 15 students that come back. So now that you know, okay, I can take 25 more and I will stay within my dollar budget for the year. So we could do that. Like the maximum is 40 students at $2,500, and depending on who is returning, then that's how we know how many new students we would take for that fiscal year. We can consider that.
Yeah, or we could do it up to like I think we're saying the same thing, thinking about it differently. It's like 100,000 is for that particular year. We just max that out based on applications, based on who's eligible, and if we don't get that many applications in, would that roll over? Or we just do it until 100 stops, and then we re-vote again to have that extra 100,000 each time. So 100,000.
I think that would depend. Like, for example, when we did the home rehab and the small business grant, you allocated the 500,000, and then it's been rolling over every year until we reach that number. Or you can do it, like you said, in each fiscal year in which we do the budget, you just allocate $100,000, regardless of whether or not you spent 20 or 30 the year before. So we can do it similar to the small business grant, which maybe we do that so that we can see how the program works and then come back and revisit it at a later time.
What y'all think? I think I like that one because one, we've already kind of had success with that model. I think it's sustainable. I think we still will have the impact. And taking like Alyssa was saying, capacity, you know, not trying to, you know, burn folks out, but trying to do a good thing. So I think we can do like 100,000 and have that as like a program, like allocated as it is, until the funds are exhausted, and then we would have to do another resolution to, you know, increase the budget for more.
Okay, great. So in-state or out-state? I still need some, no?
I think they can, it's just a set amount.
Set amount of the
set amount.
2,500.
They use it how they want to.
Okay, and are we giving it directly to the student? Does it have to be paid to the school?
Go ahead.
Maybe it should be reimbursable?
Scholarship anymore. It's not a scholarship.
I mean,
It's just not a scholarship if it's reimbursable.
They're gonna use a credit card,
Yeah.
and then they're gonna pay the credit card back with the, don't do the kids like that.
so we issue a check
If
to...
it's paid to the school and they overpaid, the school will reimburse them. So it's no harm, no foul there.
I got a lot of scholarships, and the checks came through me. I'm just saying, like, there are things that they're gonna need, whether it's getting to college, renting a U-Haul, renting a car. I think if we're gonna give this and we're trying to have an impact on students going to college, give it to the students. We're still gonna, if they're gonna come back the next year and wanna apply, they're gonna have to give us their, we can request an official transcript, we can request certain things, but now paying it directly to the school, I don't.
This wouldn't be just for tuition. This is for anything and everything, like
It's a
buying a
scholarship.
computer.
It's a scholarship.
You know.
They could buy a computer. They may need, there's certain things, like when you go to college on campus, as Mr. Holland stated, you need cups, you need sheets, you need pillows, you need towels.
Yes.
It's like building a new apartment, yeah.
Dropped off a few
Yeah,
of them. So if it's for everything, then,
Yeah, I would give it to them because they can use it for things that may not fall, but it's a scholarship. So if they've met the criteria for the scholarship, they have the grade point average, give it to them.
I don't disagree with you, and I'm kind of looking at it as if this young person was smart enough to get into college. I'm sure that they can figure out how to, efficiently use the dollars that are given to them, so.
And 2,500, like, it's not really gonna pay, it might not even pay for one class.
I was just trying to meet in the halfway point. But now I know how Leslie got that new Honda Accord when she went to college.
Yeah, I would say give it to the student.
After I graduated.
Yeah, we give it to the kid. So what we got so far, Joanne?
So we're giving 2,500, up to a maximum 100,000, then we'll bring it back in front of the board. There's still a question of whether or not they're eligible for 4 years or they're reapplying every year.
If we're gonna do where we're carrying it forward, we've awarded them a $2,500 scholarship per year for 4 years. Once they meet the criteria, to me, it's gonna make sense, the model that you discussed. If the following year, only 15 of those students qualified, then you can only have an impact on 25 new students. If all 40 students qualify, then we gotta come back.
We gotta come back and say it's a
Because
need,
now we're not having an impact on the students that are now graduating, going to college. So we would hope, if you're getting a scholarship, like, Alyssa said, you were smart enough to get into college, you should be smart enough not to lose your scholarship. I'm just saying. So, yeah.
Just to make sure, they would have to meet the minimum educational requirements that are in the Florida Scholars Program as far as GPA Is that correct?
Or we can establish it. I understand average GPA is probably like 3.0, 3.2, 3.5. If higher higher GPA, some people have 5.0s and 4.5s. Like, we can establish that. They don't have those GPAs in college, but in high school, weighted, unweighted, all of that nonsense. But I'm just saying, like, we should be giving it to the students who are doing exceptionally well. You know, those are deserving students, but we don't make it too high, if that makes sense. I think, and this is where Ashley is the expert, when he's the expert. And I can only go based on, you know, my own experience.
So in here, we have a difference, for example, between a 3.5 plus GPA and a 3.0, and remember, we talked about incoming college freshmen. So there's a requirement of whether or not they had at least a 1340 on SAT or a lower score on SAT. So are we just establishing some type of minimum? Because I would love just to be able to come back with a document that's passed by resolution, and this is what we're doing moving forward.
No, I think for the first year, because they're not going to be taking the SAT and the ACT again, right? But in order for you to qualify, possibly the first year, I would rely on Ashley's expertise. Do we make it 3? You have to have a GPA between 3.3 or higher, whatever it is.
Yeah,
You understand? Because I know anything under a 3.0, now you're in a C average. Got it. But for the following year, the ACT, like if they're going to continue to receive it, those things don't matter. But for the following year, for you to maintain that $2,500 from the trust, then you have to have a 3.5 or higher in college. Don't know. It's what we decide.
Yeah, I think when setting those numbers now in the conversation without like proper research is going to be a little challenging. Because one, the goal of this is also to serve students in this community. And when you start talking about standardized tests and test scores like that, sometimes our students in these zip codes don't score as high. So I don't want to put a number out there that's based off of like students that we don't necessarily represent. And then I also want to contribute the opportunity for kids who want to go into career and technical education as being as part of it as well. I know we didn't talk about that. I know y'all think about traditional four-year college, but I'm also thinking about post-secondary. Think about a kid who might want to go into carpentry or electrical school or something like that. I think they should also have an opportunity to apply, but they won't need the same. Like they won't necessarily need a ACT or SAT score. So want to get y'all opinion about that.
Go ahead.
It's okay, thank you. I was kind of on the same wavelength as you, and not everybody follows, you know, a traditional path all the time. And what about our students that maybe start out at Miami-Dade College or in other, you know, kind of stepping points before they get to a traditional four-year university? I think if they've received a college acceptance letter or a acceptance letter to a trade school, to an electrical apprenticeship program or something of that nature, then that should be good enough for us. We're, at least in my opinion, splitting hairs here about GPAs and different things like that. Maybe you need to maintain good standing in a trades program or a 3.0 or a 3.5 GPA once you're in college. But if you've been accepted and you're holding an acceptance letter to some sort of education after high school, I think that, I mean, that's kind of good enough for me.
I think we go a little bit more rigid than that, but
I would agree that, for me, just my take on it, that's just a little bit too loose, because now you're just opening it up to just anybody coming to ask. The only thing I would say for the trade school, if we're gonna have that type of model, maybe $20,000 from this $100,000 for that type of acceptance, so at least they get a piece of it, and then they don't have to worry about the other criteria. So that could be a possibility.
Keep in mind that we represent a unique community, and that most students possibly will not have an opportunity to attend full-time and only focus on going to get an education. In a lot of cases, people can only go part-time and they work or different things of that nature. So that's what I'm a little bit preoccupied with, is that, we are talking about this very square box of 4 years and going, away to school or, but somebody may get into FIU, but they can only go 2 nights a week. And so they can take 2 or 3 classes that they can fit in. They have to work. They don't have the luxury of, just attending school. So I think this is kind of a gray area. It's a sticky situation because you want to try to inspire as many people as you possibly can. Maybe their path is not, straight 4 years. Maybe it takes them 5. Maybe they got to go to Miami-Dade. Maybe it takes them 6 years to get done with school.
So if we're going to do that,
This is complicated.
then it may be a one and done type situation, because now if you have somebody on a 6-year plan, they're collecting, there's a big difference in college if you're going part-time or if you're going full-time. If you're working full-time, going part-time, whatever it is.
I just don't want to exclude people,
No, I completely agree, but we really have to establish what the intent of this scholarship is. Is it to promote anyone going to school, any type of trade school, or is this for college-bound students? That's why if we're gonna, because I understand the trade, because not everybody is on the path for a 4-year college degree, right?
No, and being
so
an
the
AC
trade-
repair
of
person
course.
is a really respectable, especially
course.
look at the heat, because if your air conditioner breaks, that's
Electricians,
that is like, I mean,
then they become general
person's worth
contractors.
his weight in gold, yes.
So I would say with the $100,000, we should reserve a portion for those that are not going to take the traditional kind of approach of going to school 4 years, college, part-time, whatever it is. I think we kind of box it in that way, because then you may open it up where now you have 70% or whatever it is of your scholarship recipients possibly going to trade school or possibly going part-time. So we just want to make sure that, we're impacting, because what we're doing is providing an opportunity and providing funding for these students to come back and work in the community. Right.
So do we go back to the then reapply every year, set amount, and see what we get?
Joanne is going to have to give us at least 2 models.
Yeah.
There's no way around that one.
I was just going to say that I think just listening to the conversation, my suggestion would definitely be that the person eligible is a resident who's been here in Little Haiti for at least 24 months. They graduate, right, from high school, that they're accepted in either a college or vocational school, that they're registered in class for the upcoming semester, either full-time or part-time. But I think it is important that we establish some type of minimum GPA, and then we make it a first come, first serve. When there's no longer dollars available, there's no longer dollars available. I think it would allow us to have flexibility regardless of whether or not the person is applying to college or vocational school, because at least they have some path towards the future. So that would be my suggestion.
If I could just, do I need to open it up for a question or a suggestion? I just want to give her an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, you would have to
I need a
open up public comment.
There's not a lot of people here. I
Yeah.
feel safe.
We need a motion.
Motion to open public comment?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question just overhearing. This type of option that you have with the scholarship, is it for anyone that's in this community, or is it something specific, like, let's say, do you have to have a Haitian background, or let's say you have a parent that passed away? Is there like is it narrowed down, or just
That's what
anyone?
we're trying to establish.
Well-
We want to make sure it's from
Well,
a person.
I kind of sponsored the item, and my goal was to try to get students who grew up in Little Haiti, children who grew up in Little Haiti, to give back. And so usually if you give them a scholarship, then they will feel a sense of wanting to give back. whether they come back to be a mentor, maybe they come back to open up a business, maybe they come back to work. So the scholarship is based on the children and young adults who grew up in this neighborhood. They don't have to be Haitian, you know, because Little Haiti is more than that. But what we're seeing is that when the culture or it's changing so rapidly is because the stakeholders don't have any voice. So
Right.
that's what the intention of the scholarship is. It's not based on culture.
Okay. And I do think the trade school is also a great option because sometimes someone can't just go into university. It's really expensive. And in trade school, you can become an RN. There are a lot of great options, a lot of people use. So I think that's great also, just adding.
You said RN because you work in the medical center?
Right,
Gotcha.
right.
I see what you
Yes.
did. I see what
Yeah,
you
some
did.
people start off as a RN, as a AA, or LPN.
PN, yeah.
And then they go to a nurse practitioner, or they even go into medicine. Just like pharmacy, they'll start as a pharm tech and then work their way up. You know, everyone's situation is different, so
Thank you for that.
you're welcome.
So I think you've heard all of our ideas.
I have one last one. From a budgetary standpoint that we talked about, maybe you limit each student to a maximum of 2 years. So at least you know you're recouping to kind of help new students. So your maximum of 2 years versus 4 years.
Yeah. There's some smart people up here, man. Through the chair, of course.
So you have our ideas. I don't know if we're ready for a vote.
Well, I'll circulate a document, right, based on the feedback that we received and get the feedback so that we can come back with a resolution by the time September comes.
Oh, question. Will this scholarship be eligible? Will students that graduate in 2025 be eligible or 2026?
No, because we're in the summer, right? So, most high school graduates,
Yeah.
they're not going to be graduating until 2026.
So-
Because they probably graduated last month.
Okay, because I was just saying, like, if a kid wanted to apply
Oh,
in the fall,
for January?
Yeah, for like J term, is that possible?
I want to say I don't know whether or not we'll realistically have time to implement it. Because in September, we would come back to the board with resolution. We would still need to be able to put an application out, establish the criteria, and do our marketing in order to be able to review applications, award, and then issue checks as well. So,
2026.
yeah.
Okay.
I think 2026 would be more realistic.
All right.
And we'll come back with a document, and then Mr. Toussaint had one more item for discussion.
I think I would like to motion to table this item because it's late. So I'm motioning to table this for next class. While the table is out,
You won one
then
now. You won one.
Yeah, next month.
Next year.
Yeah, that's gonna be a whole 3-hour discussion right there. Yeah, so we're gonna. Anybody want a second? Oh,
It's a discussion item, so we can just bring it back on the agenda.
Yeah. You bring it back.
The only motion I was going to make was to adjourn.
So we'll table that discussion item, and we'll see everybody back September 9th. Have a great month off. Thank you.
I should have took my vacation next month. I took my vacation now. I was about to go to sleep.